And new this morning, a deadly disease has been attacking some of the native tree species in the Ahtanum State Forest in Yakima County. Sophia Lesseos hiked through the trees and took a closer look at some of the tactics that scientists are trying to use to combat this fungus. Good morning, Sophia.
Good morning, Jessica. Well, those trees that have been getting affected by the tree-killing disease, and that disease is called blister rust. And those trees are native species, the whitebark pine, and it is the only type of tree that's being affected and impacted right now in the Ahtanum State Forest. Not only are these deaths of these trees being affected by the environment, they also have a cultural impact as well.
By the time you realize it's infected, it's kind of already too late.
Walking through a forest of dead trees isn't something you'd expect in Washington.
This is fuel for a wildfire. It's severe mortality, and you'll see that mortality all along this stand of whitebark pine.
At one time, these trees were thriving. Now they're getting attacked slowly by a deadly disease that attacks whitebark pine specifically.
Blister rust is a type of fungal infection that can get on these trees, very unhealthy for them, and can unfortunately cause severe mortality in up to 75% of the species of whitebark pine.
Whitebark pine is considered a keystone species in the Pacific Northwest, meaning it is critical to the ecosystem, so that loss drastically changes the landscape.
It's a very sacred tree to a lot of the native tribes in the area. It's a cultural resource, it's a food source, it's a sacred resource to those tribes.
So having both the environment be dramatically impacted as well as having a cultural resource slowly being removed, the Department of Natural Resources is trying to combat this issue by growing whitebark pine from seedlings.
We're attempting to grow in order to better understand how blister rust affects the species and potentially even prevent it.
With this amount of dead trees in the environment, this could not only cause damaging effects for other trees in the area, but when a fire does come through this area, it's not going to be peaceful. It could be potentially catastrophic.
The better we can understand blister rust resistance, the more that we can breed certain seedlings that have that resistance, introduce those onto the landscape, and potentially have a disease prevention tool to increase the stands of whitebark pine and eliminate the mortality caused by blister rust.
Now, to read more about the natural genetic variation of these whitebark pines that DNR is planting in the Ahtanum State Forest, you can head to our website, NBCRightNow.com.
Now, Sophia, are the whitebark pine trees only getting attacked by this fungus in the Ahtanum State Forest, or is this disease somewhere else?
That's a great question, Jessica. So this disease is actually not just to us, it's actually in all of the Pacific Northwest. So it's not just locally here, but the cool thing that I found with DNR is that they are using our forest, the Ahtanum State Forest in Yakima County, to be kind of a guinea pig in a sense, with the scientists in planting different forms of those whitebark pine trees in order to discover a species over there that's going to be resistant, and there is a species that they're looking for specifically in order to kind of grow more of the whitebark pines and bring that native species back to where they were thriving before. Jessica?